Pretty good? Yeah, great. All right, so remember you know how to talk on a microphone. You All right.
I've done it before, but I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I talk to you like this, is that going to be fine?
I don't know is the
Right, okay, sure.
answer. I would... Oh, we're on.
Yeah.
All right. So
we're on.
We're back. It's episode 2 of the Dave Hughes podcast. We are in a van. Now, it may not be apparent to you, but behind this curtain is a door, all right? So that's a door of a van. We can open that and you can see out to my front yard. But the van will move. I have not moved it yet. I've had this van for about 2 months and has not left this driveway.
Right. If I had a van like this parked in my driveway
Yeah.
with a plan to do something at some point in the future, my wife wouldn't be happy about it.
Yeah.
In fact, this van would be moved very quickly to somewhere else where she couldn't see it.
Look, this is Lehmo, by the way, Anthony Lehmo Lehman, who is my guest of this episode. Well-known, well-loved comedian who's worked in radio for many years, done stand-up comedy. When was your first stand-up comedy gig? What year?
My first stand-up comedy gig was the 1st of December, 1993.
Yeah, wow. All right.
So
you started... I started before you.
did you?
Yes, I started in February 1993. Yes, I did. February 93.
Right, okay.
So I've started before you. So
Where was you? You were in Perth, weren't you?
I was in Perth. I was at a little club called Pockets Pool Hall, which had a bar attached to it, and I used to, I would turn up there. So where was your first gig?
Bolt's Cafe, Rundle Street, Adelaide.
Was it a regular stand-up comedy room?
Yeah, it was. I used to go with some mates. We'd go every Thursday, and we loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Dave Williams was on every week.
No, Dave Williams. Shout out to Dave.
Occasionally, Adam Hughes would pop in, or Steve Bedwell.
Yes.
Because they were both doing breakfast radio in Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
And then one week, the MC, Charlie Hill-Smith, still a good mate of mine now.
Yeah.
He says at the end of the show, hey, if anyone wants to get up and do a spot, come let us know. We'll put you on.
Yeah.
And then a mate of mine, her name's Anne-Marie, she just went and put my name on the list without telling me.
Yeah, right.
And then she came to me and said, you're on next week.
Wow. And so had you, I had dreamed of doing stand-up comedy, or dreamed of doing, stand-up actually, from probably the age of 13 or 14, and I started at 22. Had you had it in your head as a teenager?
No.
Not at all?
No, I'd never. It's funny, I just never dreamed of that. I just never thought to myself, I never thought stand-up comedy was a thing. I just thought that's what other people did.
Yeah, right. So so I saw a tape, Jerry Seinfeld was on this tape, Rodney Dangerfield at the Comedy Store in LA, and it was a VHS tape.
Oh, yeah, right.
Hosted by Rodney Dangerfield this night.
Yes,
It had Jerry Seinfeld.
Sam Kinison?
Yeah, Roseanne Barr, I think Tim Allen was on it.
Right.
And Sam Kinison was headlining.
It's a good lineup.
It was a good lineup. Sam Kinison was headlining, and his spot where he did a rant, I'd just say to anyone, Google Sam Kinison. He died very young, but he was really, really funny. He did a rant at this on this night about the fact that his wives kept leaving him, and if he learns to fuck really good, maybe he can keep his money. So it was really funny, and it felt like a genuine rave, and I loved it, connected to it, even though I was a long way from fucking at all. But yeah, so that's what got me going. So, but you didn't have that moment.
No, I did. I never considered doing stand-up at all until I was dobbed in. But I was always a big joke teller at my local footy club.
All right.
Even as a kid, like an 11-year-old,
right.
I would go from group to group and tell them jokes.
Yeah, right. So that really is you're still doing that, basically.
And they kind of knew I was a joke teller, so they'd always go.
All right, let's start here then. So your first... You've got a week. Your friend Anne-Marie has said you're doing stand-up comedy at this venue next week. Did you spend that week panicking? Did you spend that week excited, or did you prepare a lot of material? What did you do?
I was excited. I wrote my routine out word for word.
Yeah.
Every word. Went back through, edited it. And you know what? For someone who was an accountant, it was a pretty good routine. The routine was, and I still remember it, it was about... when you start dating someone and you hold your farts, you won't fart in front of them, so you hold your farts in.
Yeah.
And then it was about the stress of holding your farts in.
Yeah.
And then it finished with me finally farting in front of my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And me going, sorry, and she goes, oh, you've been farting in your sleep ever since we first met. And that was kind of the punchline at the end. And I thought wasn't a bad...
It's a good joke.
Had a beginning, middle, and an end.
And we all can connect. We all can connect to our partners farting in their sleep. And
yes.
I don't think I've ever told my wife that she farts in her sleep, and she doesn't do it that often. Not that often, Holly, but you do it occasionally, and I just let it go through to the keeper, so to speak.
So to speak, yeah. You let it slide. I once.
You know what? I farted. Apparently, my ex-girlfriend, this is 25 years ago, reckons I used to fart so bad in my sleep that it would wake her up.
Well, that's what my wife says. My farting does that now.
But I actually heard, and I read this,
yeah.
that this you don't smell when you're asleep. Has anyone heard that?
Correct. So if your house is on fire, you're not going to smell the smoke. So the smoke will not wake you up.
So my ex would claim that the stink woke her up, but it mustn't have. It must have been the sound.
The asphyxiation, maybe.
Don't know. So if it's can you Google, Tim?
Because my wife.
Is it definitely true you cannot smell while you're asleep?
Yeah, because I've been hanging my hat on that for years, so I hope that is true.
And so
it must be the sound or.
What else?
The inability to breathe. See, I know
the shake of the bed.
If I have red wine and chocolate,
yeah,
which I have a lot,
yeah,
that's a lethal farting combo for me.
I think alcohol combines with whatever bourbon is back in my drinking days.
Yeah,
a bourbon. We're going to get crass here, but a bourbon shit is one of the worst things known to humanity. It's like. It is. If you walk into a toilet after someone's done a bourbon shit, you're just that's hard.
I wonder if anyone, maybe Tim can look this up. Has anyone ever ranked alcohol based on what it does to your shit? And is bourbon at the top of the list? Is bourbon the worst shitting alcohol?
Well, Tim, can we go firstly? Can you smell farts? You can smell when you're asleep?
Your olfactory senses are decreased.
So way decreased? By how much? What percentage?
I don't have that information.
So my ex-girlfriend might not have been lying when she said I woke her up through my farting.
Possible.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing.
That is disappointing. You'll appreciate this, having done breakfast radio for years.
Yes.
You know, content is like the search for content is brutal.
Everything.
It's brutal.
Daily grind.
I once recorded my wife snoring.
Yeah. And
played it on air without her consent.
That's a really dangerous move. I know your wife. That's a dangerous move.
It was a dangerous move. She was not impressed.
Yeah, you had to get her. I wouldn't have done that. I cannot believe you did that. So,
it was pretty good, but it made for a second lot of content. Her reaction.
Yeah, her being angry.
Her being angry.
Did you record that without her?
No, I didn't.
Something that's happening at my house recently is that I'm being rage baited by my family, and they're secretly recording.
Rage baited? Is that gas? Is that the same as gaslit?
No. Gaslit is when you get lied to, isn't it? I don't know. I think gaslit's being lied to, basically. So, but rage baiting is when you do something deliberately to make the other person angry. Where you don't let them know that you're doing it deliberately. And so they do that occasionally, and then they record, hoping I will go off my nut. And they've been disappointed because I haven't gone off my nut that much, and I'm disappointed because I want to go off my nut so I can use the content. I didn't know I was meant to. I didn't know that I was meant to know about it. I
would hate that. That would make just the idea, that concept would make me angry. Did you would have watched? Who were those guys? Johnny Knoxville and all that. What were they? Jackass. Yeah, that one was it. Bam. Who would always prank his dad?
Oh, not really, but yeah.
But he would do mad shit. Like there was one where he threw a fucking alligator in the bedroom.
Yeah.
With his dad. Like he would do mental shit to his dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't tolerate that.
No.
I'd be like, no, I'm divorcing my son and we need to never see each other ever again.
I in my childhood, I didn't deliberately rage bait my dad, but I did. He did rage. There was one time where me and my cousin Joe were playing cricket in the front yard.
Yes.
And Dad had his rose bushes there, and I think we hit one of the rose bushes.
Oh, yeah.
And he came out and went fucking berserk. If he had been able to get the gun out of the cupboard, he would have shot us. I'll never forget it. It was absolutely ran down the driveway, just off.
Oh, really?
Right off. And we scattered. We had to run. It was full on. So, yeah, that was a rage baiting.
Oh, that was, see, my dad, my old man, I was the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
I was terrified of him, but he hardly ever got angry at me.
Yeah, no.
Like ever.
My dad used to get angry. We had a loaded rifle in our house, and I remember this is not. I mean, it's sort of funny now in hindsight, but at the time it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
He one day got the gun out, pointed at it, and said, "I'm going to shoot you all." Yeah, there you go. And
He got it. Wow. He pointed a loaded gun at you and said he was going to shoot you. I mean, that's got
pretty full on, isn't that? Yeah.
that's got to lead to a bit of trauma somewhere.
Can I say?
Did you have some trust issues with him after that?
Well, it was nerve wracking, but
How'd you sleep that night?
probably not well. But I mean, whatever you think of John Howard, when he got everyone to give up their guns, that was a good day in Australia. I was happy with that day. So.
Did your old man get rid of his?
I think he did, yeah.
He did.
He got money for it.
Or did you get rid of it on his
No, I
behalf?
think he decided, he'd prefer the cash. I think he'd mellowed by that time. So
Wow.
I think you got paid for them, maybe? It was a buyback.
It was a
wasn't it?
buyback. Yeah. No, that was the best thing John Howard ever did. My dad, as a kid, was playing with his cousin on the farm, and they had a gun, a 22 rifle. And my dad would have been 13 or 14 and pointed it at his mate's head and pulled the trigger, and it just clicked. And then he pointed it up at the windmill and pulled the trigger, and it put a fucking hole in the tail of the windmill.
Yeah, right.
So it malfunctioned when he pointed it
Yeah, all right, but
at his mate's
the question
head.
here, did he know there was a bullet in the gun?
No, he did not.
Had he checked?
No.
Well, that's
He was a
poor.
kid.
I know, but no, mate, he's 13.
He's 13.
If a 13-year-old shoots me,
Yes.
I want them in jail.
That
care.
haunted my dad for the rest of his life.
enough.
But even though we had a gun rack in our house with a 303, a shotgun, and a 22, which I, from the age of about 12, was just welcome to help myself.
Yeah.
Grab a gun, grab some ammo, go and shoot some fucking whatever.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're children of the 70s, basically, and we went on a farm, and you were on a farm, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't on a farm, but we still had guns.
just in case.
We used to go shooting rabbits, and we had air rifles, like high-powered air rifles.
Yeah.
I remember shooting a bird in the middle of the oval from our back fence. Our back fence of our house, a playground, and then a football oval.
Yeah.
I got a magpie through the eye that was in the middle of the oval from the back fence. It was a shot of probably 200 metres. It's extraordinary.
Hang on a
shot.
sec. You've shot an air rifle with 200 metres and you've hit the target.
Hit a magpie in the eye. And look,
You missed your calling.
In
Maybe you should have been a sniper.
also, I am a vegan now, so people need to know that. I do regret killing that magpie. But I think that it's illegal to kill magpies. They're native, aren't they? If they do,
I know you can't kill
They
magpies.
get very angry, though, don't they? Peck you on the head, magpies.
You know what?
They're asking for it.
Magpies have got a very long memory. Did you know about that?
Oh, well, this one had no memory. I shot it. So, one of my memories...
It forgot that it shouldn't stand that close to you.
One of the memories of my childhood is my brother had an air rifle, and he said, "I'm going to shoot you." And I said, "You're not." I said, "Don't." He said, "I am." And I started running, and he shot me in the back. Like...
It's just like Platoon.
Yeah, so
You're
I'm
running
running
away.
away.
Did you hit your knees like Willem Dafoe?
Shot me in the
he
back.
shot you in the back.
Bang! What?
Fucking hell, you had a fucking wild old house.
Well,
You're like
it
the South Bronx there in Warrnambool.
That wasn't every day. That was a strong memory of him shooting me in the back.
It wasn't every day. Oh, okay then. So you've got your dad's got a gun out telling he's going to kill you. Your brother's shooting you in the back.
Yeah, it was.
No
mate,
wonder you fucked off to Perth.
Mate, it was 70s.
It was the 70s.
and the 80s. So
It was a wild time.
I want to go back to your first gig. So it went well, did it? Even though your friend,
Yeah, I get killed.
you killed.
Killed.
Yeah, right.
Like properly killed.
So was that like? I mean, I know the first time I killed on stage was my third gig.
Right.
Rode McManus remembers my early routines better than I do, much better.
I
He was at my first couple of gigs. My first one was an absolute stinker.
Yeah.
The next week I went back. I thought if I don't do it again, I'll never do it.
Yeah.
And I got a laugh talking about how bad I was the first night. And
Oh, right.
Actually, Robe told me recently. He said he saw me do that and thought, my God, how did he do that so quickly? And inspired him to start comedy.
Oh, yeah, right.
So anyway, I'm
Yeah,
bragging
nice.
now, but
Can you remember early jokes?
I talked about how I used to get called Frog and that I didn't like it. So yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and the first week thought it was funny. It was just a guy being sad about his life. I remember walking off stage. And
Isn't that stand up? That's what it is. That's the definition of stand up.
I was on stage. No one's laughing at my, me pouring my heart out, and 3/4 of my brain was going, "You are a loser." They were right to tease you. That's what my brain's saying. So I'm having a mental breakdown on stage.
I wish my brother was shooting me in the back now.
And as I walked out of the venue, because there was no off stage, so it was either the toilet or you had to leave the venue through the crowd. When you have a terrible gig and then you've got to walk past the crowd.
You don't want to see anyone.
And as I'm walking out of the venue, someone said they were right to tease you. It's been a tough night.
Take that. It's like, at a corporate gig when you come off stage and you're sitting with like the CEO and you've had a shocker and you come and sit at the table and no one makes eye contact with you. And they kind of start awkward side conversations because they don't want to address what a massive shit you took on the stage.
No, it's awkward anyway at corporates. I did a couple yesterday, and like the first one, it went quite well, but still, when you get off stage and there's no music or anything, so the whole room's just silent.
Yeah,
and you're just standing there as there's like 100 blokes are just sitting there. And you're like, I'm just like, just talk amongst yourselves, guys. That's it. The entertainment's over. I'm just gonna walk out. So.
And people never quite. Go. I enjoyed it. That's a good one.
Enjoyed it.
I thought you were great. It's tough room. Yeah, they're hard to get this lot.
I had a tough room yesterday, and it was a good gig. I'm like, fuck off. That was quite good. So anyway, So when you did your first gig, went really well. You
Yes.
hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
Did you then dedicate yourself to it?
So there, I was hooked straight away.
So were you doing every week after
Completely hooked. So then I did kind of. Because there were a few comics trying to get on, I think I was in a 2-week rotation, so every second week.
You'd get up.
And I wrote a new 5 minutes every time.
Yeah. I did that early on as well. I didn't think when you're at the same venue, I thought if I do the same joke twice, the barman will heckle me.
Yes.
He'll go, I heard that last week.
Heard it, mate.
Get something new.
Yeah, so I was writing the new routine and it was never as good as the first one.
No. But also, when you're running a brand new routine every time, you need that first laugh. Like when you're early on in your stand-up journey, if you're doing a brand new 5 minutes, you need one laugh to get going. If you get one laugh, you build off that. But if that first laugh doesn't come, you can go through the whole 5 minutes.
It's no good.
And just having the other comedians just staring at you. What was that?
And he was just having this internal dialogue with yourself, going, what's happening? So I got the greatest bit of advice I ever got in comedy. About 3 months in.
All right. Greatest bit of advice. This is the greatest bit of advice Lehmo's ever got in comedy. What was it?
I was 4 months in, and I remember it so specifically because it was the week that Kurt Cobain died.
Yeah, wow.
And the first 3 comics who went on all were talking about it. It was like literally 2 days after he died. And they're talking about it, but they were getting nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Kurt Cobain, right? It's getting nothing. And the room's flat as a tack. And Jack Smith...
Canadian
guy. He came up to me and he goes, I was on next. He goes, you doing any jokes about Kurt Cobain? I said, no. He goes, good. He goes, big smiles. It's the greatest night of your life. And I went, okay. And I say that to myself all the time before I go on stage. Yeah. Big smiles. It's the greatest night of your life.
Yeah, but you don't even need to do that with stand-up. You can just do it with every day. Just get up.
Yeah.
Big smiles.
Big smiles.
Greatest day of your life.
Greatest day of your life.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not do that every day?
You can apply it everywhere.
You can apply it in every moment of your life.
But
Big smiles, greatest moment of your life.
It is. Take that with you, people. Big smiles. It's the greatest moment of your life. Greatest day of your life. Greatest night of your life.
And so all right. So now you're doing in comedy in Adelaide every fortnight.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. When you first start stand-up comedy, it's not linear. Is that a word? There is, isn't it? You go up and down. You have good ones and bad ones. You think you've cracked the code.
Yep.
My third ever gig was an absolute belter. I thought I'd crack the code.
Yes.
And the next one wasn't so good. So it's consistency is what you need.
That's what you're striving for. Yeah. And I thought I wrote a routine early on, like first 3 or 4 months, which I hung on to for a very long time. But it was a fucking great routine about 2 bits. One about you set your time on your alarm clock fast.
Yep.
And everyone sets it fast. So it was about how...
What do you mean that?
So instead of it saying 7 a.m., it would say 7:10. Would you ever set the time fast? on your.
So you
You
get
know
up-
your alarm clock by the
right,
bed.
So you think you're getting up at 7:10, but you're actually getting up at 7.
That's right.
Oh, right.
So I used to do a routine about how
done
you're trying to trick yourself,
Yeah,
but you already
right.
know what the trick is.
Yeah, right.
And then that went into a whole routine about the snooze button, how pointless the snooze
Yeah,
button
right.
is.
Yep, yep.
And then I had another bit about I had a Seiko Sports 200 watch.
Yep.
And about waterproof to 200 meters. Anyway, I did these routines. I thought I'm fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, then what happened is I was working as an accountant.
Yeah.
I got done drink driving,
Yeah, right.
right, in Adelaide.
What'd you blow?
So, I used to do a routine about it, and I used to say, that is the first question everyone asks. What'd you blow? Like it's competitive.
What did you blow?
Because this is back in the days when everyone got done drink driving.
Yeah.
0.13.
Jesus, that's a lot.
I should not have been driving.
Can you remember it?
Yeah.
You remember getting pulled over?
Well, I'll tell you what.
113 feels like a lot.
I'll tell you what
Is
happened.
that a lot? At
Yeah, it's no,
Tim,
it's
can
no
you
good.
Google at what point of alcohol do you actually pass out? At what percentage?
Oh, that's going to be 0.3 or 0.35.
Really?
Yeah. But I left a pub I was at. So this is 1990.
How far was the drive?
This is 1993. This is embarrassing. I was at the General Havelock Hotel.
Yeah.
And I was driving basically to the other side of the parklands.
It's a kilometre?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I come away from the General Havelock, I turn right to go down through the
Yeah,
parklands in Adelaide, and I see the booze bus way down the road.
You try to get away?
So I'm like,
Do a Yui?
I go, no, I'll just pull over here.
And just get
I've
out?
got 3 guys in the car with me. I said,
will
guys, I'll just pull over here and we'll do a runner. And they're like, yeah, cool. So I pull the car over.
Yeah.
They all jump out and bolt. The cops hide in the bushes up the road. So a cop,
for people doing...
for people who do exactly what I just
Yeah,
did.
right, yeah.
And a cop comes out and grabs me. And,
Oh, right, so he saw you get out of the car.
no, he was basically standing there when I pulled over. I didn't see him.
Oh, right, so he was waiting for
He's
people.
waiting for people to do that.
Yeah, right.
And
so-
then he walked me down to the...
And you knew then you were over the limit. Yeah. Did you try to talk your way out of it? Can you remember?
Nah,
You go-
not at all. I just remember being very compliant.
Yeah, right.
Goes there. I said, yeah, no worries. Said, you had a couple tonight? I said, yeah. He said, if you had too many? I said, I think I might have.
There's a lot of funny videos, or I've seen one in particular, where a guy is pulled over. You can see this on YouTube or wherever, Instagram, where he's pulled over. His car's like broken. He's obviously crashed his car. And the police come up to the side of the car and he says he's waiting for his mate and he hasn't been driving. Have you seen that video? He's going, I'm waiting for my friend, Trevor or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a funny video. So,
And had he been driving?
yeah, he crashed his car, but he was trying to pretend that he was just parked. And the cops goes, well, what's happened to the front of your car? He goes, nothing. And he's like, he's basically, ran into a pole, but he's just sitting in the car. Anyway, so that's what reminds me of that. So, all right, how long did you lose license for?
So anyway, so this is going somewhere. So I got so I lost my license for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I got a $500 fine.
Yeah.
Which is pretty lenient, really, given that I
It's
blew
quite dangerous,
0.13.
yeah.
Anyway, good lesson. Have never drunk driven since.
Yeah.
And not that makes me a hero, but but I'm just making the point that I learned my lesson.
Yes.
And so I got a $500 fine. So I come back from the court case.
Yep.
Into the office where I worked as an accountant.
Yep.
And I said to the guy in the next office, Daryl Gogol, I can still remember his name.
Yep.
And he goes, I said, oh, how'd you go to court? I said, oh, I got a $500 fine. I said, gee, $500. I don't know where I'm going to find that. And he says to me, hey, you're getting really good at this comedy. You should go on Red Faces on Hey Hey It's Saturday. First prize, $500.
This is great.
And in my head, I'm like, of course. That's exactly what I should do. And as if I'm not going to win. Have you seen the stupid acts they wheel out? I'm going to win.
Yeah, Red Faces. For the younger people in the audience, I don't know how many there are. Hey Hey It's Saturday, iconic TV show.
Yeah.
Red Faces was the amateur competition section of the show, the most popular thing on the show.
Yes.
And so you auditioned for
So
it?
I auditioned for...
Do you go to Melbourne to audition?
No, they had auditions in Adelaide.
Right, yeah.
And I auditioned and I, had my stand-up routine.
Yeah.
But you know how they try and, manufacture. They ask me a few questions. They go, oh, you're a country guy. Well, let's dress you up like a farmer.
Yeah, I get
and they want to put hay in my mouth, have me
Yeah.
chewing hay and shit. You know?
Make you a character, yeah.
Yeah, which I kind of avoided most of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I wrote a new routine, like a new 5.
For TV.
Yeah, right. Now it's insane.
know,
But I
yeah.
was writing a new 5 each time I went on stage.
Yeah. So you wrote a brand new.
So I
5
wrote a
minutes.
brand new 5 minutes.
Had you tried it out before?
No.
All right. So.
Like madness.
All right,
Complete madness.
So yeah.
I
so
get
there's a million. There's maybe 2 million people watching. This was when TV
Yeah.
was huge.
and
And it was
Hey
the
Hey
biggest
was
show.
massive.
Yes.
So I go to Melbourne. I'm third on out of the 3 acts. The first act are 4 blokes, also from Adelaide, who are just singing funny songs.
Yeah.
And they get like, I think 12 out of 30 or something.
Yeah. Right.
And
So-
I'm like,
so 3 judges all score out of 10.
yes. So we got Red Simon, Sophie Formica.
Yep.
And
You know what? I did a gig with Sophie Formica only a few weeks ago.
Really?
She was emceeing a gig I did in Brisbane.
Yeah, right.
So there you go.
Sophie Formica.
Brunette.
Yes.
Beautiful woman, yeah.
And I think, was she on like Home and Away or something briefly, or?
I thought she might have been on one of those travel shows. Sophie Formica. Can you Google her, Tim? So,
Yeah.
Sophie Formica.
So, and David Dixon from Indecent Obsession.
Oh, yeah, blonde-haired guy.
Yes. Yeah. So they're the 3 judges.
Yeah, he's from a band, Indecent Obsession. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Has
first,
a couple of great hits.
Yeah, so the first, these guys get like 12 or 13, and I'm backstage thinking, awesome, got them covered.
Yeah.
Then this older woman goes out,
Yep.
who's from Paraguay,
Mm.
and she does a traditional Paraguayan dance
Sounds good.
whilst balancing a pot on her head.
She's getting close to 30.
And this is, it's just classic
get?
Red Faces fodder. She ends up with 21 or something.
Yeah, good score.
Okay.
Strong. Hang on, what do you got? Sophie?
For Micah, she was on Great Outdoors.
Yeah, I knew she was a
Great
I knew it was an
Outdoors.
outdoorsy show. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Just Kidding, which is a prank show, I think. Wasn't it? Or something like that. Yeah. She's
Yeah, right.
still at the top of her game, but was big in the 80s. Yeah.
So then I'm on.
Yeah.
Daryl's introducing me, and he goes, "The next contestant is what is it? Is it limo? Is it a limo? A lemo." Lemo, and then they do the cartoon
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
now
yeah.
there's a limo up on the screen,
Yeah,
a cartoon
yeah.
picture of a limo.
Yeah.
So Daryl's mucking around with the intro for
Yeah.
ages, trying to work out. He goes, let's just go with lemo.
Yeah.
Here's
bit of
Lemo.
fun, bit of banter.
So
yeah.
I come out
Yeah.
and just,
Die. Do you?
oh,
Hard.
it's a horrific death. And
Can we see it? Is it on YouTube?
yeah, it is on YouTube actually.
All right.
I think
Lehmo,
you'll find
Red
it.
Faces.
Put Lehmo Red Faces. I think what you'll find is Sam Mack did a thing taking the piss out of it, and it's mixed in with a Sam Mack thing.
Oh, so Sam Mack, the TV presenter.
Yes. Yeah. So he did.
Did he get your permission or? 'Cause he's
Yeah,
a nice
yeah,
guy, Sam.
yeah. He had.
Yeah.
He did was had
He's
like.
from Adelaide as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Is it there?
Yeah, it's on the on a Radio Today website. Is that the one you're talking about?
It's
could
only
be,
one, though,
could
isn't it? It must
be.
be on the-
Yeah, Sam Mack's YouTube series has got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, yeah. All right. So
And-
we're talking flatline,
Absolute,
people can look that up.
absolute flatline.
like zero.
No,
like
not
crickets.
nothing.
And everyone in Adelaide's
one.
watching. Your family's watching.
I'm playing footy at the Adelaide Uni Footy Club, officially the biggest football club in Australia with 400 registered players who all know,
You're on.
because I used to do the presentations at the footy club every Saturday night.
right.
I was like
You're the funny guy.
I was a funny guy at the club.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all watching.
This is great. I love this.
Everyone I know
What did you score?
is watching.
How far did you get through?
I'll tell you how bad it was.
Yeah.
When I started, I could see Russell Gilbert standing in front of the audience.
I
Russell,
saw Russell Gilbert yesterday.
Oh, how was he?
Russell Gilbert's had a brain injury, for people who don't know. It's been a long time now, and he is still recovering. And you know what? He walked past me yesterday, and he remembered me, which is Russell.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and he said, "How are you, mate?" And it was like,
Oh, good.
And it was So I think he's slowly improving. Good luck to you.
Yeah,
Russ.
good
So,
stuff.
Yeah. So, but he was again massive back in the day. Yeah.
and an absolute sweetheart and a really generous performer.
yeah.
So I look at him and I can tell, because he's got that Gilbo bounce.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me and I can tell he
'Cause
wants,
he stands in the audience, by the way. So he's
Yes.
like, the audience warm up, but he's on camera, but he stands with the audience.
and he wants me to kill.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Because he's bouncing and smiling,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And his head's wobbling and he's
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at
yeah.
me like he's encouraging me.
something.
I can tell.
Yeah.
So I start, and then after about a minute, I look back up at Russell, and he's kind of shifting awkwardly in a spot and looking over his shoulder. And when I looked at him, he kind of looked away. And it's just flatline. And then Red gongs.
So you got gonged. So how far through did you get, do you reckon?
Oh, I got about 90 seconds in, I reckon. I wish they'd gonged it after 10
so
seconds.
you were happy with the gong. You're like, thank God for that.
Thank God.
You knew you was no.
I knew it was terrible.
You're not coming.
It was terrible. So gong. So I had a joke that I used to do on stage, which was, I come from a little country town called Pibinga.
Yeah.
You know, to give you an idea of the town, you know, towns often have a big thing to signify what it's about, the big orange, the big banana, whatever. Yeah. Well, in Pibinga, we've built the big fuck all.
Yeah. I like it.
It took 20 council workers 6 weeks to put it up, right?
Yeah,
So it wasn't a bad joke. But I couldn't say fuck all.
Yes.
So I said stuff all.
It didn't work.
Which just takes the punch right out of the joke.
No one says stuff.
So I had done that joke. So gong, Red gets up and just writes stuff all on his. So that's a 0. That's a 0 from Red.
But you know that's not a bad joke from him.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good gear from him.
Yeah.
Sophie Formica.
What'd she give you?
0.
Oh, Sophie.
She writes.
She seems like a very pleasant
0
person.
and holds it up.
Oh,
and then David Dixon gives me a 5.
Oh, well, David came through with the goods.
So I get 5 out of 30.
And so how embarrassed were you when you went back to your footy club? Really embarrassed or not?
Did
you think about giving up comedy?
Not for a second.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? I was nowhere near as embarrassed as I should have been.
Yeah.
I should have been way more embarrassed than I was. Like I really should have been.
But
it was the first time I'd ever been on television.
But also that is a sign of someone who belongs in the industry when you can deal with utter humiliation, which happens on a daily basis as a comedian. So
it's the one of the worst comedy spots I've ever done to the biggest audience I've ever played to.
Yeah. Can I tell you my Red Faces story?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I also, doing stand-up comedy in Perth, going well, headlining, very small scene, moved to Melbourne, start doing well in Melbourne quite quickly, really. Start headlining in Melbourne, no TV, bugger it, I'm going to go on Red Faces.
Yes.
Audition for Red Faces. Don't get through.
Oh, no.
Don't get through the audition.
You didn't get through.
So, and then I go, I'm going to have another go at auditioning.
Right.
Come back again. And this second time I'd bought a pair of moccasins because I did this routine about being on the dial, which was
that was your
signature routine.
Signature routine back in the day.
I've got one guy with a clipboard. I can't remember. Jack Strom, I think, actually. I do remember his name.
Jack Strom.
So he's the second time I'm auditioning at Bendigo Street where they had their studios. So just an audition. It's a cattle call basically, and it's just me and him. He was looking at his clipboard and he wasn't looking at me, and I'm doing my routine. I got my bloody moccasins that I bought at an op shop. And I dressed up for the part, you know.
You dressed like a dole bludger.
I dressed like a dole bludger. I'm doing my good gear, and he would not look up from his clipboard, and I cracked it. I said, "Mate, can you look at me? I'm doing an audition. Can you just look at me?" You know, honestly, he got scared.
And he put you through?
No. He
didn't?
He got the security guard to walk me out of the building.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so I got walked out of Channel 9 because I was an angry...
A bogan with moccasins.
Red Faces wannabe contestant. But look, I'm grateful now that he never put me on because they're hearing your story. But you know what? My redemption story...
So you never did Red Faces, but you went on Hey Hey Heaps, didn't you?
My redemption story is that about a year later, they started putting stand-up comedians on Red Faces.
Yeah.
Oh, not on Red Faces, just on the show.
Yes.
So Australian stand-ups were going on the show, and I was one of them, and I had I was the most nervous still I've ever been in my entire life. Yeah. But I had an absolute blinder. It went really well. And I walked past Jack Strom as I'm leaving, and he didn't even fucking recognise me. But that bit, actually, my bit ended up being something they replayed on the 50-year anniversary.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a real brag.
There you go. That's a good... you know what I just remembered while you were telling me that story? When they used to pre-record it sometimes on a Friday. The one I did was pre-recorded.
Oh, really?
So I had 24 hours... I had 24 hours to sit with it.
Oh, my God.
And I was with everyone from the footy club.
You watched it with them?
Because it was at the pub. They get everyone to shut up. They put it on. So I'm standing there, and for some reason, over that 24 hours, I'd told myself this story that it actually wasn't as bad as I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then you watching it back. you
I'd convinced myself that
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad as I thought.
yeah.
And then I watched it back and it was way worse than I thought.
But were you able to laugh at that were you able to laugh that night watching it with them? Were you laughing at yourself being bad?
Yes.
You must have been.
Yeah,
to a
I
degree.
was.
So that's why you're still in the bloody industry.
It's funny,
right?
it didn't
It's that attitude.
It didn't cut me up as, like I said, as much as it should have.
Well, let's say you've got to fail to succeed, and you
Yes,
failed
I
to
fa-
succeed.
I failed in a fucking massive way. But you know what? The sort of the long-term effect of that was there are loads of people who've only ever seen me do stand-up once,
Yeah,
and it
right.
was red faces.
I've
Right.
actually-
So when I was telling people that I was quitting accounting to take up, and they'd only ever seen me on red faces, they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is insane."
You know, I'm back to me again. I hate to bring it back to me, but that my spot on not red faces, but my spot on the show,
Yeah.
Stand spot, led to Russell Gilbert, our friend, a
Yes.
sweetheart, threatening to bash me. True story.
And a threat of a bashing from Russell Gilbert needs to be taken seriously.
Absolutely,
Yes.
from Footscray. So he's bashed people before, and been bashed before, I'm sure. So I was trying to get on the show, not Red Faces, but the show.
Yeah.
And Russell was the resident stand-up comedian on, because he's a stand-up comedian on the, and I rang him because I knew him. Just didn't know him very well. I said, Russell, I want to. He said he'd see me at stand-up gigs, and I said, Russell, can I get a spot on Hey Hey?
Yeah.
And he's like, so I rang him. He goes, mate, yeah, you'd be good on it, but it's not my responsibility. So I can't get you on the show. All right.
Right.
And then I said, no worries, Russ. A couple of weeks later, the producer Pam Barnes, who's
Oh, yeah.
a great woman, whose
Yes.
daughter Megan was the matron of honour at my wife's wedding. So yeah. So anyway, that's a later connection. Didn't meet my wife for another
At
8
your
years.
wife's wedding.
Yeah, which is my wedding, isn't it? Yeah, both of our weddings. There's only one wedding.
Signs you're becoming detached from your partner. You refer to your wedding as her wedding.
Anyway, so back to me. So Pam Barnes, legendary producer of Hey Hey Saturday, rings me and says, you're gonna go on the show. Massive moment in my life. I'm going on Hey. I immediately get really nervous, obviously. And then so I go on the show. It goes well. I'm on a high.
Yeah.
And then the next night, that was a Saturday night. The Sunday night, I had a gig at the Middle Park Hotel, and I told the story. Because I'd rang Russell after. Oh no, Russell rang me after Pam rang me.
Right.
And Russell rang me as soon as Pam rang me and he said, I got you on. Then I'm like, I thought it wasn't your responsibility. I didn't say that.
Yeah, right.
But that was the joke in my head.
Yeah.
So on the Sunday night at the Middle Park Hotel, I tell that story. Russell said he was going to get me on. Russell says, I can't get you on. I get on. He goes, I got you on. I'm like, I thought it wasn't your responsibility.
Right.
I thought a gentle laugh. He wasn't at the Middle Park gig, but someone told him about it. I woke up on the Monday morning to 5 missed calls from Russell Gilbert, and they were getting progressively angrier, where they ended up saying, I am going to bash you for mocking me. And I'm like, fuck, I have made a massive error. And I did not get back on Hey Hey at Saturday. I got back on one more time, and guess what? Russell was away that week. So
Really?
the only other time I got back on when he was away.
So did he
fucking
go
angry.
in? Do you reckon he went in and said, no more Dave Hughes?
I don't know, but I just know how angry he was at me, and I can imagine that anger spilled over to the production team.
All right.
So
Did you ring him?
I tried to, he actually yelled at me. I did ring him, and he kept yelling. He was really fucking angry.
Yeah, right.
And it was a poor decision by me
Did
to
you-
use him as a butt of a joke a day after I'd been on his TV show. It was a bad decision.
Yeah, that's not
That was
right.
not a good decision.
Yeah, no, that's
But over the years, we've become really good friends, and
Yeah.
But he used to scare me around St Kilda. Actually, I'd be walking down the streets of St. I remember one day walking past the Village Bell Hotel, and then out of nowhere, someone went, "Ah!" and I made the most pathetic sound. I'm like, I'm gonna get killed, and then it's fucking Russell
And it's
Gilbert going, "Ah." He's a crazy guy.
He spent a bit of time in that joint, I think.
He
the Village
still does,
Bell.
mate. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
mate,
Yeah.
We're at 40.
Yeah.
You want it, and you have that, you're going to ask us
Oh yeah, so we are at 40. So, but that's all good. We're having a great time. We're going to finish up soon.
Yes.
So you've been great. I've loved this. It's been a bloody blast. Your son is how old?
8.
Now he went viral on the Instagram and everything else. Was it Instagram?
Yeah,
mainly?
Instagram. Yep.
So because of a joke that you got him to tell at a comedy event on a cruise ship.
On a cruise ship, correct. There was a comedy cruise, and on they have a like a talent show where people on the cruise get up and tell jokes. And
one of the comedians on the ship, and they're a lot of fun. Comedy on the cruise ship is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great.
The theatres are really good, and the crowd are into it. And I've done it a number of times. I love it. So, but they have a Sunday afternoon or an afternoon
that's right.
talent show where one of the comedians or a couple of the comedians judge Red Faces
Correct.
style almost.
Red Faces style.
So
and they finish that. Yeah. And the MC comes over and says, "Hey, does the young fellow want to get up and tell a joke while we're adding up the scores?"
Yeah, right.
And I said, "Do you want to do a joke?" He goes, "No." I said, "I think you'll enjoy it." He goes, "All right." And he gets up.
So he was 7 at the time? Or
he was 7,
yeah.
And he goes, this is last year. And he knew he'd learnt 3 or 4 jokes by then. He goes, "Which one should I tell?" I said, do Brian.
Yeah.
So he told this joke.
And give us the joke real quick.
The joke is, so the guy called Brian goes to this family's house for dinner.
Yeah.
And Brian does a silent fart.
Yeah.
And the owner of the house yells at the dog under the table and says, "Get out from under the table." And Brian thinks, "Oh, great, they're going to blame the dog. I can keep farting." So he does another silent fart, stinks even more. Owner of the house yells at the dog who's still under the table. And then Brian does a third silent fart, and the owner of the house yells at the dog and says, "Get out from under the table," before Brian shits his pants. It's just funny hearing a 7-year-old say shits his pants.
It's also a good joke.
It's a good joke.
And he told it well.
It went viral.
But viral to the point that millions of views.
2.5 million views.
And also, what big stars?
Sharon Stone,
Basic Instinct.
Real Sharon Stone wrote "How Adorable, Love Heart, Love Heart, Love Heart."
Yeah, so you've got Sharon Stone, who was a world famous name.
Yes.
Who obviously, had the scene in Basic Instinct.
Yes.
Where she, opened her legs. But anyway. She's most famous. That's her most famous.
That's she's most famous for that, yes.
Yeah, did she work with Michael Douglas or something?
Romancing the Stone.
Was that her? Was that someone else?
I don't think that was
her.
That
might have been her.
I think that was someone else.
Yeah.
Casino. Yeah, she's done loads of she's a great.
Anyway, so your son.
So it goes viral, and then P&O get in touch, and they say, "Hey, do you want to bring him with you on another cruise?"
Yeah.
And he can do 5 minutes before you. Yeah. Like as an actual warm-up.
stand-up comedian at the age of 7.
So then we do a little promo tour for P&O.
You go on the radio station.
We go on the radio stations. We went on the Today Show, or Today Extra together. And that was funny because David Campbell, lad's not particularly conversational in the chat. And David Campbell says, "Well, you told a joke on a cruise ship?" He goes, yeah. And David Campbell goes, "Oh, what was the joke about?" And lad goes, "Oh, it's just about Brian shitting his pants." Yeah. And then so they it's just a really funny, natural moment. So that went viral. Then we went on the cruise ship, and I posted that, and that went viral again. Yeah. And then out of the blue, we get contacted by Britain's Got Talent.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
You got contacted by Britain's Got Talent.
And Britain's Got Talent. And they
Why don't I know this? Why don't I know this?
And they go, "Does the young fella want to come on Britain's Got Talent?"
Does he want to fly to Britain to do comedy?
Yes.
Cheapers. I'd love to go on Britain. Should I go? Anyway. Right,
so
and you had to think about it.
So we're like, no, we were like, yeah, cool, that's great. So
you said yes.
So we go through this whole thing. We wrote a routine specifically for Britain's Got Talent.
I did not know this. Yeah, all right.
With he had some great Simon Cowell jokes like, "I'm what Simon Cowell will look like in 3 years if he keeps taking Botox."
Oh yeah, great.
Hey Simon, I live in Australia. You live in England. Why is your tan better than mine? Yeah, it's a good gear in amongst them. And so we recorded a routine. They were like, "Yeah, love it. He's in. Yeah, doesn't have to do the preliminary phases. We'll just get him right into the next phase." Great. And then they go, "Yeah, this is all good." So look, we've got some budget issues at the moment. So you guys all good to fly yourselves over?
They wanted you to fly over.
And
that's like 10 grand.
And I said, no, not happening.
You can't fly us to... Jeez, how little money is in TV now that
But that's the biggest show in the UK.
That's what I mean.
That show is massive.
And he's got these great zingers for Simon Cowell, and they're not going to fly him.
And
economy, they wouldn't fly him.
And I was
Not
like,
economy. They wouldn't fly him economy.
well, when the conversation never got to that.
So they wouldn't say even contribute to a flight?
I was like, well, they said, and I said, well, you're gonna. I said you're gonna have to fly us.
Yes.
And I said, and business class.
Oh, you said business class.
And I said, fly business class. They came back and said, no, we can't fly you at all. You'll have to fly yourselves.
Oh, right. So,
So there wasn't even, economy wasn't even a halfway
yeah, right.
point.
Yeah.
It was just like, no.
Were they going to pay you to be on the show or not?
No.
Yeah, right.
So we had to fly ourselves and pay for our own accommodation
Right.
in Blackpool. So I just said,
But also...
I gave them a very polite, no, we'll pass, thanks.
But also
Thanks for your interest. Really
But
appreciate
also,
it.
what is the end game anyway, to be honest?
Well, this
He's
is
not
why...
going to be a professional comedian at the age of 8.
He's got no skin in the game.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter to him.
No, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. But it made me realise people who go on the show are so desperate, they would probably pay for themselves to fly over.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably pay for myself to fly over. Seriously. You could have rang me and gone, there's a spot open.
There's a spot open if they're looking for an
Mate,
Australian.
I could have got one of my kids to do it. I said, oh, give us the jokes. We'll go over.
Let's
Who
do it.
cares? Let's do it. So, but yeah.
So, and they said they were lovely afterwards. They said, oh, look, you know, we're going to keep him in mind for next season if you're open to it. I said, yeah, feel free. Get in touch.
All right. So do you want him to continue or do you think it's going to be annoying? Or, honestly.
Oh, look, he's enjoying it. So we go on a cruise this weekend and he's going to do a spot again this weekend.
Right. All right.
But he's getting a bit ahead of himself now. I said, he goes, Dad, where's my spot going to be? I said, you'll be in the room where they do the talent show on the Sunday. He goes, no, I want the main theatre with you.
He wants Saturday night.
He wants the big room.
Time.
He goes, I don't want the crappy room. I said, it's not a crappy room, mate. That's better than nearly every other comedy room in the country. It's just not the theatre. He goes, I want the theatre. I said, you're 8. I can shut up and get what you get.
Oh, well, look out for Laddie Lehman.
Laddie
Lehman. I love alliteration. He's already halfway.
It's a good stage name.
You can't beat alliteration.
Yeah.
You know, mate, been great. Let's shake hands.
Thank you, mate.
Lehmo's
Thank you.
in the van. Check us out. Subscribe on the whatever you subscribe on. All good. Thank you.
Like and subscribe.
And we've both we done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All good. That was great. I loved it, man.
Good stuff.
That was great.